Hi, it's Christine Madera from modernmystic.net and Conversations from the Edge podcast, in which you can find at conversationsfromtheedge.com or your favorite podcast venues. And this week's mystic wisdom is that, of course, you're right. Of course, you feel like you're right. Of course, you're really convinced that you're right. And it's not because you're right. It's because that's kind of a brain technology. It's built into our bodies. And the way that you can prove that to you is that when you change your mind about something, or you discover that you weren't actually right, but you become right about the next thing, like you still feel right about that. So what all those things have in common is that experience, that impulse, that emotion of knowing or feeling that you're right. And I did want to answer one particular question that came up because I talk about the difference between feelings and emotions, and still I use them interchangeably. So in this case, it's not a feeling that comes from like that sense of knowing your infinite self, that really deep, quiet, still voice that lets you know, yeah, this is what's true for you. And it's that quiet guidance forward. The feeling or emotion around being right is that really insistent, connected to your emotion, emotional right. So it's right in your nervous system. It feels right in your body. It feels right in your physiology. And that's the brain technology I'm talking about. And it keeps us really from being mired in kind of indecision, so that everything that comes up, we're not weighing the pros and cons of every little thing before, and we just get lost in that and we can't move forward. So there's actually some benefit to that. The challenge, though, is that just because you have that emotional impulse that you know that you're right? You know you're right, your opinion is right, you know that you're right, you're absolutely on, you can find evidence for that. It doesn't mean you're actually right. It's not evidence of fact. It is just evidence of emotional certainty, which is based in that brain technology of really helping us feel like we're right so that we can move forward in what we do. However, because you've had that experience of knowing that you were really right, and maybe you then changed your mind, or you came upon different information that maybe showed you that you weren't exactly as right as you thought you were, or in some other way you became right about something else that was different than this particular rightness. And that feeling, or I shouldn't use the word feeling, that emotional impulse, that emotional certainty is the same. You can't rely on that experience of emotional certainty for knowing that you are accurate in what you are choosing to have an opinion about or say or believe or whatever it happens to be. So there's in reality transurfing and in other kinds of teachings as well, there's this idea that there's evidence for everything. So especially in the age of the internet, you can come up with any belief, any idea, anything at all that you choose to believe in or choose to, investigate as truth. And you can find evidence that backs that up. There's all of these different things, and they all have their internal logic. And when you follow their internal logic and their interpretation of ideas and events, it backs up whatever it is true, which doesn't make it factually true or universally true, but it does, feed that emotional impulse of certainty and knowing that you are right. And so I'd like to challenge you with this of tapping into those places where you know that you're right, from that emotional perspective, and begin to challenge yourself and say, what if this feeling of rightness isn't actually proof of rightness? What would be, what if this isn't right? What if this was, or what if this is inaccurate? And begin to step away from that certainty, that emotional certainty. And also because, I'm all about the tapping into your higher self and your infinite nature, begin to cultivate the feeling, the subtle body feeling of being connected with your higher level self and your higher experience, not of the rightness for everybody, but of what's accurate for you in that moment. Because this is a different kind of technology, and it's not, there's wiring for it in the brain, but it's not the same kind of emotional technology that we have. It's kind of a full, subtle body information system. And as you allow information from the subtle field to come in through your subtle body, it arises in your awareness in things like intuition and insight and ahas. And the difference between those kinds of information and that kind of like awareness of, oh, wow, this is the right path for me, is that it's individual and unique for you. And it's individual and unique for that moment. So 3 minutes later, if something else happens in the world, that information flow might be a little bit different. It's kind of this slow moving or sometimes fast moving current that helps you to navigate the present moment in your life. That emotional certainty, that emotional like holding on to your opinion and stating that as truth, that's a different kind of circuitry, and it's based on the past. It's based on what you've learned. It's based on who you've learned to be, and it's really its own internal control mechanism within you to try to keep you captive or conforming to a particular idea or set of ideas or belief system or group of people or something along those lines. There's always some kind of control in there where you are listening to your past self and listening to that brain technology based in learned stuff. So learned conditioning, learned identity, all of those things. But if you really want to live in the present moment and you really want to be tapped into your whole self, then beginning to let go of that emotional impulse and certainty and questioning those things that you know that you're right about, and opening up then to the flow of subtle information that may inform you of something completely different. Won't necessarily say you're wrong about something, but just, that it's just not something that's important for you to hold on to right now, or not something that is healthy for you to give your energy over to. So begin to make that shift. Challenge where you are holding on to emotionally impulsive feelings of rightness. Invite that deeper part of you to inform you what's true for you in this moment and what's true for you to give your energy to as you move forward. Because we let our energy flow to these old opinions and things based on the past, it uses up a lot of energy in our body, which keeps you from being able to use it for the things that really serve you and of what you want. So just remember, next time you feel that feeling of rightness, it's not necessarily accurate. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually right. It means that your brain technology is firing up, and it's a great thing because it keeps us again moving forward. But you've got a different level of information to tap into, and that is your deep self. And so practice questioning those feelings of rightness, tapping into your infinite self. You can take some slow, deep breaths, drop into your body, and just become quiet and allow that infinite energy to flow through you and begin to give you guidance from that field of information that is always about the present moment, always has your highest interest at play, and is always guiding you exactly the best place for you for your highest outcome. All right, I'd love to hear how it works for you. Have a great day.